This book suffers from too much telling, not enough showing. You're about to watch me read 5 Broken Blades by Mai Corland. I'll be updating you periodically with my thoughts as I'm reading the book. I think I have in the middle expectations for this book. Like, I don't expect it to be a 4 or 5 star, but I don't expect it to be a 2. I think it's gonna be like a high 3 star, but like, look how beautiful this is. It's very nice. Yeah, so I don't really expect it to blow my mind, but I think it will be enjoyable. So for my understanding, 5 Broken Blades follows along 5 characters, and it's kind of like a battle royale in a way because they are hired, I believe, to basically kill this kin guy. And I don't know if they're working together or not, but basically only one person can take over after they kill the guy. So they have to kill the guy, but then they also have to fight all 4 of these other like trained killers, so they can be like the last man standing or last woman standing. So that's what I imagine the plot is. I don't really know much else, and I think that it has inspirations from Korean history, so that will be really fun. I love when authors kind of incorporate their cultures into the writing and educate people who maybe are not aware about that kind of stuff. And it's just like look at the artwork. I really like this. This is very cool. So yeah, hopefully this book isn't like super violent because I just do not have a stomach for that kind of thing. I know I'm like, oh, I don't want it to be violent, but this is like a book about 5 people trying to kill each other. But you know, as long as it's not too graphic, I don't mind. But yeah, I think there's gonna be a lot of action. So yeah, without further ado, let's read 5 Broken Blades. But wait, we already know the drill. This is a dust cover. And this isn't just any dust cover, because this has like the sprayed edges. I have a feeling that we are finally going to have a pretty design underneath. We haven't had one in forever. So we're gonna take the dust cover off and hope there's a design underneath. If there's not, I'm gonna be actually really disappointed. So let's see. Oh, good stuff. Look at this. This is absolutely gorgeous. Wow. That blows my expectations out of the water. Honestly, I didn't expect this much. This is beautiful. Oh, this is a gorgeous book. Oh my goodness. So let's read this book for real now.
Yeah.
So I'm a little bit more than 100 pages into 5 Broken Blades, and here are my thoughts so far. A bit of a slow start, but we're getting a lot of character introduction, and we do have a lot of characters in this book. We have our 5 main characters. So we're introduced to Royo, who's basically like muscle for hire. There is Sora, who I think is the most interesting character to me, and she's basically like a poison maiden. So her whole role is to poison people that her like owner wants her to kill, and she has to do it because he has her sister, and it's like a whole messy thing. So that's our other character. We also have Yusan, and he's a exiled prince who has been hiding away. So his brother is like the big bad guy, King Joon, and he's the one that basically everybody's been hired to kill. And so the prince is one of our main characters as well. And then there's also Mikhail, and he's the spy master, and he had like a relationship with Yusan before, and so he's with Yusan right now. He basically found him, is like, hey, let's go kill your brother together. And he's like, seems suspicious, but let's do it. And then the last character we have is Eri, and so she's with Royo, and she is like a master thief, and so she seems to have some kind of mystery to her as well. She's very talkative and very eccentric of a character. And what I think is impressive though is that like you can tell the different personalities in each of the chapters, like even if you don't have the name above the chapter, because their personalities are so distinct. So yeah, those are our 5 main characters. I would say though that the writing is just okay. Like it's not amazing, it's not like bad. There are some parts where I'm like, not very good, but it's just like average, I guess. It's an average writing style. And I'm sure that it's gonna pick up more as I read, because this is still just like the introduction, and we're learning more about the world and the characters and who they are and like why this kin guy is bad, and he's basically has this crown that makes him immortal and impossible to kill and all that stuff. There are moments though with the characters where I'm like, I feel like they're trying too hard to be funny, and it's not like that natural. It feels really forced, and so that kind of I'm like, But I also don't expect this book to be like a 5-star. I think that my guess is so far correct in it being in like the 3-star category. So that's where we're at right now. I am still interested in learning like what's going to happen as the story starts to pick up, more about the world that they're in. I love when characters that you're like introduced to eventually like come together. So I'm excited for that to happen. I don't know if it'll happen in this book. I think that this is a series, and I think this is the first book, and I think the second book isn't out yet, if I remember correctly. But yeah, that's kind of like what I'm expecting. And so just kind of getting over the character introductions now, and we're about to get into like the main part. So yeah, I'm excited. So I'm going to continue to read 5 Broken Blades, and I will update you around the halfway mark. So I will see you then. So I'm now a little bit more than halfway through 5 Broken Blades, and I would say that the romance in this book is not very well. There's like no chemistry between any of the characters, but I think that the fight scenes are good. So all of our characters have now all met, and they're all kind of like traveling together, which is always good. I love when the characters that you meet, they do their own thing, and then eventually it's like boom, all together. And so it's kind of given a bit like a heist vibe, because you have all of these kind of like criminal people, and now they're all going to work together for one ultimate goal. And so they're all kind of like hanging out, they're all chatting, getting to know each other. And as they stop like in different towns and stuff, sometimes things happen and they have to like kill a bunch of people, and they've come across like a secret kind of like drug area. So like the drug is something that's been mentioned earlier in the book that every soldier carries with them because it helps like numb the pain. And one of our main characters, Mikhail, is actually addicted to this type of drug, and like he grew up where it was all like grown and stuff, so he has a certain immunity to it, and so that means he has to take a lot of it, but then he takes a lot of it and he gets withdrawal and all that. So that seems to be like a main theme that's going to kind of like play out a little bit more now that we've seen how it affects the characters, and that we met this like gang that's basically like has a bunch of it that they're kind of like smuggling, which is not allowed in this world. It's only the royal people who should have that, is kind of like the way it's all set up. So we got some good fight scenes. I like that our characters all know how to fight, or I mean, some of them don't, but like the ones who know how to fight, they know how to fight, and those fight scenes are very well done. So they're beating people up, they're all working together, and there's like little mysteries and secrets, especially about the character Aerie, who I don't know if she can like teleport or like what's going on with her, but she's like fast. And I think she has some kind of connection to who this like mysterious person that we just kind of saw in the distance that we don't really know who they are, but they've been intervening subtly throughout the book. So maybe that's her dad. I don't know who that is, but yeah, there's somebody there that we don't know who's meddling in ways. And so now they're almost at their location, and then they can start to kind of like action on their plan to kill the kin guy. So yeah, that's where we're at right now. I'm getting close to finishing the book. I think that overall it's entertained enough, but I really wish that there was like chemistry and like better conversations with characters, because they don't really like talk that much, and when they do have like conversations, it's more like it's telling you about the conversations that they had instead of like showing the conversation. So it's hard to understand and like really actually care about the relationships of these characters, but it's entertaining enough that I'm like, oh, I wonder what's gonna like happen next. But yeah, it's not my favorite. So I'm gonna continue to read 5 Broken Blades, and I will update you when I finish the book. So I will see you then with my final thoughts. I just finished 5 Broken Blades, and I have to stop falling for these pretty covers. So the first thing that I want to mention is like there's this tagline like let the best liar win, and then it's like only one can take the crown, but that's not the story. They're not all fighting to take the crown. They're working together to take the crown to give to one person. And so that was really misleading because I was like, oh yeah, like these people, they're gonna meet each other, they're gonna like get to know each other and actually like each other, and then bam, it's time to like get rid of the kin, steal the crown, and then kill everybody else that you just became friends with. That's what I thought it was, but yeah, it was really misleading because that was not the case. The story is more of like a heist kind of story, but not exactly. Like there are definitely elements of it when they're like planning and then stuff doesn't go when it's supposed to, and so they have to come up with a new plan. But the actual heist itself, I found a little lackluster in my opinion, and I was like, oh, that's it. And like the big reveal was super obvious for me as well. And I think it has to do with the like 6 POVs, because I think because you have so many characters, but they're all in the same area, it's taken away some of the mystery and the guesswork that the other characters are having, because it's like one character's like, oh, like I wonder what these characters were doing. And then you see it happen from the other character's perspective. And I don't know, it didn't really do it for me. I think it would have been better if it was maybe like 1 or 2 POVs, 3 at most. And that way you don't really know what the other characters are thinking and feeling and doing. And that would make the reveals and the like twists and stuff, I think, a lot better. And I can't believe that I am saying this, but there was too much romance. And the reason I say this is not necessarily there was too much romance, but there was too much romance to the point where it didn't make any sense. I felt that there was no chemistry between the characters. There was really no friendship between the characters. There were none of those small little scenes of the characters like getting to know each other and actually caring about each other. Those scenes happened, but they didn't happen. Like you don't see it happen, you're told that it happened. Like with Mikhail and Sora, they apparently had a conversation that lasted like the entire like night. They just talked the entire time, but we didn't see that. We didn't know what did they talk about. How did they like, what did they talk about? What made them decide to share these things with each other? We were told that, and this book definitely suffers from a lot of telling instead of showing, which is really disappointing because I think it has a really good idea, and I can tell that the author put a lot of work into the world and interweaving like the history and the lore, like the creatures and all of this, but for me it fell very flat because it felt like the writing could not execute what it wanted to do. With the world itself, I was not able to really visualize anything because nothing was described. It's like, we went to a bar. But like, what does the bar look like? What does the bar smell like? What style is it? Is it wood? Is it made of concrete? Like, what does it look like? Really just like painting that picture, I think would have been better. And there's a lot of instances where I'm like, I don't know where they are. And so I just have to like make up a place, but I know it's not right because I know this is supposed to be pulled from like Korean history. And as somebody who's not really familiar with Korean history, it was really hard for me to try to imagine what that looks like without getting any kind of visual cues of what these areas and places and even like the outfits that people wear and the way that they do their hair. Like I could not really see what that looked like. And I think that that was a missed opportunity for sure. However, despite its faults, this is a new author. This is her debut story. So I don't want to be too harsh, like getting a first story out there is really, really difficult. And it definitely has the pieces to be a really well done story. And so I think I will read the second book when it comes out because I think that it will be recognizable the difference in writing another kind of story to go with it. So I'm gonna give it another chance because I do think that there's a lot of great potential in there and it's just like something that experience is gonna take out. But I guess I'm surprised that the publishing company didn't point these things out. Like I'm not a publisher. I help edit at my work. Like I'm in content. And I was like, there's a lot of telling. There's not a lot of showing. The chemistry, the characters, all of those things that makes you actually care about a story was not here. I will say the last like couple of chapters or so was done very well. And I like that they're different characters. I like that they all have different personalities, but it was weird that there was like some mixes of kind of like modern day slang plus the like fictional universe. It was something about Royo saying dunno that got me all the time, and I'm just like, ooh, like what? That doesn't seem right. So yeah, and then I think one of my pet peeves is the amount of times that they reference kind of like what the equivalent of like hell is, or their gods and goddesses, but in ways that I feel like normal people wouldn't talk. Like if I was like walking and like tripped, I wouldn't be like, oh, all the gods in the world are whatever. And I'm just like, that's just pet peeve for me, and I find a lot of fantasy stories have that, especially a lot of the newer ones. It just makes me cringe. And although there are faults in this book and I am willing to give it another chance, I wasn't like super bored. Like I didn't really have to think much, except for when I was trying to like be like, where am I, who are these characters? But it was definitely like readable. It's definitely a readable book, and I think that this author definitely has a lot of talent and a lot of potential, especially when it comes to world building. And I can see her in at least the next couple of years or so really honing in the craft and learning how to really write all of this great stuff that she has in her head in a way that everybody can understand, because I'm sure she can see it really, really well, but the hard thing is to get it onto paper and have other people see it too, because I would love to see what this world looks like from her perspective and all the characters and really just everything, because I think that's the part that was missing. This needs more showing, less telling, and that's pretty much like my thoughts on this. So I'm going to be awarding 5 Broken Blades a total of 2.5 stars. I didn't want to give it 2 stars because like I didn't hate it the way that I felt about Powerless, but it wasn't like the best book that I've ever read, and I probably wouldn't recommend it to anybody to read because it is just But I wanted to give it that 0.5 because although it wasn't the best thing I've ever read, and it's definitely lower on the list of things that I've read, I was still entertained enough, and I did finish the book. I didn't drop it, and I didn't feel like I had to drop it, but it wasn't that well written. But I think that because it is a new author, that's understandable, and I would like less fade to black, but that's just me personally. So the next book that I'm going to be reading is A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle L. Jensen. This one I think is going to be maybe a 4-star. That's going to be my guess. I have seen good things about this. It was in the pile at Indigo of best reads of the year so far, so definitely got some high hopes for this. So this is what I'm going to be reading next. I'm in such a fantasy mood apparently this month. So if you're interested in watching me read A Fate Inked in Blood or any other book that happens to be on my never-ending TBR, definitely hit the subscribe button if you haven't already and turn on the bell notification. That way you get notified anytime a new video comes out. If you enjoyed this video, definitely hit the like button, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!